Well, I've been in jail, and I mean, I've seen maximum security and minimum security too, and it still sounds funny to me because I mean, I don't see no way he could have got out of there. No way. I mean, it sounds so set up to me. It's pathetic. It could have been a lot of things done better, but I mean, as far as him having a gun in his head, that sounds shitty. That really sounds.
They got a security check, you know, everybody that come to see him.
See how you can put it in his head.
Anybody that come to see him,
and they gonna blame it on the lawyer.
nah, they put a check on him too, man.
That's what I'm saying, man. And the cat only had but that much hair, and the cat gonna hide it in the natural. They showed it on the TV.
You know what I think? They just set the gun on him, you know, because they wanted to get rid of the blood anyway. They just set the gun on him and shot him up.
Everybody, you know.
Yeah, they gonna get Angela.
They trying to good work on Angela.
Yeah, they gonna try. They gonna
Bobby,
try.
they gonna work on everybody, man.
Yeah, somebody needs to get in that place, you know, and work out something. But see, they ain't even gonna let nobody in there. You know, you heard about they refuse to let the people in.
Where they said they had all them plans and things, you know.
Yeah, where they get the plans from, man? And you know you know how they check. You know, he was in solitary, right? Anybody that come in there, man, they strip them, man. And county jail, they do that, and that's San Quentin. Man, they strip them, man. They can't get in there with a shoelace.
I think the whole bit is phony, and like having a gun in his hair, and then they changed and said it was a wig. First of all, where did he get a wig? And if you go to a prison on just a little bitty bomb thing, they search you real good. So how could a man almost on death row, you know, get a wig? And then they say they hid it in the toilet stool. This right here should show black people and all concerned people that it's really like phony. And this should make us really want to do something about it.
That George Jackson planted a gun on him after they kill him dead. That's what they do. They land to do it all the time. Kill him, and the man's lucky he lived as long as he did. A young man like that, and they stuffed his life. I framed him, really. That's right, and there's no joke about that. I believe that.
What do you think the black people should do now that they've heard about this?
I think the black people should get together and try to have some kind of more of a band, you know, because the white man, he's doing, I guess, he think he's doing something, but he's not doing nothing but causing a lot of conflict, and it's a lot on our brothers and things, man, and different things. I know the man was killed, man. Just they planted that gun and deaths and things. They probably were shooting at them other brothers so cold till they killed them guards in the process and stripped them. Something went wrong in the setup. They had a setup killing, but something went wrong. That's what happened. Something actually went wrong, brother. And I'm telling you, if we don't get together or something, man, and try and do something for our people, man, they're gonna kill us all of us now. There's ex-convicts and things. They take a little boy, he got dog take a cookie out of the stove, and they'll send him to the pen.
Now I'll ask you one question. Now you have a natural.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you could hide a...
There's no way on earth I could hide a weapon or a piece of iron in my hair. There's no way on earth. There's no black man could do that. If his natural was tall as the Empire State Building. How are you gonna do that? And then they got these certain eyes and different things. You understand what I'm saying? They got these different things. When you walk across the thing, they can tell if you got a pen in your pocket. You can bring a donut back from the mess hall, and they can tell. The average person should know that. Yeah, so man, it's...
These reactions to the killing of George Jackson were gathered at random in the area of Adams and Western Avenues by KPFK reporter Dennis Matthews. They serve as an introduction to our guests this evening. Edward Dino McZeal, of the Committee, a group which seeks prison reform, and James Standifer, of the Harriet Tubman Prison Movement, which supplies prisoners with reading matter they request. Both of these men have spent time in Soledad and San Quentin and knew George Jackson as a fellow prisoner. They're here to talk about the killing of George Jackson and a movement in the black community which seeks the release of black prisoners to the custodial care of the black community. The Harriet Tubman Prison Movement issued a statement the other day. I'd like to read the first 2 points because they'll bear heavily on what we're going to talk about. First, they said, we feel strongly and intend to prove that the official accounts of this brutal murder are fabricated and designed to mislead the people as to what is in fact going on behind those walls, and be used as a tool to further oppress brothers and sisters. And 2, we have information that George Jackson was forced out into the adjustment center yard by tear gas, shot in the ankle, then, while in a face-down position, shot in the brain. The same source of information revealed also that 4 other brothers, John Cluchet, Fleta Drumgo, Rochelle McGee, have been brutalized and continue to be severely brutalized, and at present Johnny Spain is in critical condition or dead. Therefore, we call upon all dispossessed people, black, Chicano, Asian, Indian, and other progressive peoples to pay tribute to Brother Jackson by escalating the struggle inside the United States against racism, capitalism, imperialism, and to work untiringly for the abolition of the brutal penal system. What strikes you as not being exactly authentic about the official reports that have come out about the incidents at San Quentin this past weekend?
The fact that it's claimed by the administration of San Quentin that George Jackson had a gun. If you look here at this statement, you'll see that outline is the details of a security search that goes on, or that each convict is subjected to before he's allowed to leave the adjustment center, and before he's allowed to enter the visiting room, and again before he's allowed to leave the visiting room, and again before he's allowed to re-enter the adjustment center.
Why don't you go through it, James, just so that listeners will get an idea of how tight it really is?
When a convict comes out of his cell in the adjustment center, he's led down to the front of the door where he leaves the adjustment center. There, he's forced to take off his clothes, to strip, totally naked. Turns around, he bends over, spreads the cheeks of his behind. An officer examines that area. He turns around again, faces the officer. He lifts his testicles. The officer examines that area. He turns around again. He lifts one foot, then the other. He turns around again. He lifts both arms. The officer examines his armpits. The officer examines his hands, the top and the bottom of his hands. The officer looks into his mouth. The officer looks into both ears. The convict is then forced to bend over and run his fingers through his hair vigorously.
That's a very important point.
And only then is the convict allowed to leave the adjustment center. When he gets to the visiting room, he goes through the same procedure again. Even though he's never left the sight of the guard, he goes through the same procedure again. He goes into the visiting room. When he comes out, he goes through that procedure again. He leaves the visiting room, goes back to the adjustment center, and goes through the procedure again, and is put back in his cell. Or even if we could conceive a prisoner receiving a gun while in the visiting room, it would be inconceivable to assume that, or to think that he could carry the gun out of the visiting room or back to the adjustment center.
Yeah.
One of the official accounts has said that it was possible that Jackson might have hidden the 9mm handgun in his hair. Yet the pictures that have come out with the publication of his book show that he has a fairly
very
close
short
crop,
right?
Natural,
right?
And that's regulation. Is
that no. Well, see, there is a standardized picture as to how long you can wear your natural. It's 2 inches, 2 to 2.5 inches. That's the very longest they allow you to wear it. Anything beyond that, then you're subject to be placed in a disciplinary cell, and you're held there until such time as you conform to rules. So, in the adjustment center, they're even more severe on these type of rulings, and they just don't allow you to do it. Now, another reason why this thing is a total farce is because, you see, there's been some conflicting reports, even coming from the Department of Corrections themselves. Initially, the report stated that the gun was concealed in his natural, and then later on, they went on to say that no, it was not in his natural. It was hidden under a natural type wig that was later found or later discovered in one of the toilets. You know, where this inconsistency in itself shows you that that's some credibility gap there. Okay, now the question is, if it was in a natural wig, Where did it come from? Where did the wig come from?
Why don't you describe the procedures once the prisoner gets inside the visiting room?
Okay, now you understand that while entering, he was constantly under observation from the time he left the adjustment center to the time he went through the search procedure inside the double doors prior to entering the visiting room. He's constantly under observation by 2 officials. He is then escorted into the visiting room. He is seated at a table. The table is approximately 5 feet? Not 5. About 3.5 feet wide, and it's a blank table. There's no drawers, no nothing. And in the middle of that table, there's another partition about 3 feet, so that you can see across it. Now, there's also an observation port made of clear glass where the 2 officers stand and watch. Now, these procedures are even more intense for a condemned prisoner. George Jackson was considered to be a dead man or a condemned prisoner.
Because of his alleged association with the murder of guards at Soledad.
Right, the Soledad incident. And they were even more conscious of, George Jackson. Like, the guards hated George Jackson. They hated everything he stood for. So they watched him even more closely because they wanted an excuse to attack George Jackson. So now, once he's seated, then and only then is the visitors escorted in. There's another petition that blocks anything from being passed under the petition under the table. That goes all the way to the floor. Now, once he is seated, there's no reaching across the table. All you can do is talk. You can't pass any papers or anything. Just simply converse. And like I said, during all this period of time, you're under constant observation. So what it means is that the wig would have to have been introduced in the visiting room. Like I said, over this petition in full view of the guards. We don't even allow you to shake hands or kiss your woman. So then, this is totally unreasonable. Okay, now once the wig was introduced, which would have been a major feat in itself, then the gun also would have had to be passed over the table in full view of the guards. So I mean, it's just not feasible. It's not even possible. I mean, it's worse than fiction. Fiction has some credibility. This doesn't have any. So
to demonstrate the extent of the guards' hatred for George Jackson, you only have to look back to about maybe 4 or 5 months, longer than that, maybe 6 or 7 months ago at the court hearing up in San Francisco?
Yeah.
When he was attacked. Right. When he was attacked right in the courthouse, in front of I don't know how many witnesses and in front of a judge and deputies, simply picking up a newspaper. And again, you can look at an incident that occurred inside the visiting room in front of a whole lot of visitors.
Right, in front of his mother.
When John Cruchet was attacked.
Right.
By
and brutally beaten.
And brutally beaten, hospitalized.
And what was this for?
This was simply for the guard, had said something disrespectful to his mother and told him he had to leave. Like they cut his visit short, Like she came all the way from Los Angeles to visit her son, who is going through a very traumatic experience. And they're going to tell her, well, she has to go because the visiting room was too crowded, Like she can't come up there that often in the first place. And then to tell her, that she can't see her son after coming all that way. So he in turn questioned the right of this official to tell him that, that his mother had to leave early. This in turn caused the guard to call 4 or 5 of his enforcements, and he just attacked the man without any other provocation and severely beating, to the extent that he had to be placed in the hospital. This is the extent of the hatred that that the guards feel for these 3 black convicts. They're looking for any excuse to kill these men.
In your experience, does it seem plausible that regulations regarding visitation procedures and so forth should be relaxed for George Jackson?
Not only for George
people
Jackson.
Coming to see him?
Yeah, not only for George Jackson, but for all the men, because the visiting procedures are totally unreasonable.
Now, the person who's coming to see a prisoner goes through a metal detector. Is that
Right,
true?
right.
So that if someone did come to see him and there was a gun on the person, it would have shown up on the
detector. It would have shown up a button, the metal on the zipper of your pants is detected.
That's how sensitive this machine is.
Mm-hmm.
Like matter of fact, they make you take all the change out of your pocket.
They make you take off rings, anything that's made of metal. Your coat, if you have metal buttons.
I mean, it's impossible.
All of that.
Because and they constantly check this machine to make sure that it's functioning correctly. And a little kid, For instance, he had a little toy pistol in his pocket, water gun, that happened to be made out of metal. And he come tripping through. I mean, bells just went off like, like a circus. So, I mean, it's totally impossible for any man to walk through that metal detector. Anyone that visits what is considered to be a security risk type prisoner goes through these procedures.
So the other alternative then is that if George Jackson did in fact get a gun, it came from the inside.
That's the only
alternative.
alternative.
From one of the prison personnel.
That's the only alternative. These are the only ones that are not subject to search.
If George had a gun, I question the whole. I question the validity of that. I don't believe that George had a gun.
Why do you say that?
I don't knowing George and the way that he looked at the guards. He was a realistic person, and I don't think that he was gullible enough to be fooled by a guard who was trying to worm his way into his confidence, which is what the guard would have to do in order for George to trust him enough to accept anything from him, not just a gun.
I think we should make clear at this point that if George Jackson accepted a gun from someone, it's a very silly thing to do, in view of the fact that if he were found with it during an unannounced search,
which happened all the time,
that could be the end.
Like that would have been the only excuse they needed to kill him. Like they've tried to kill him before. So this wouldn't have been, been just totally foolish. And if you look at George Jackson's record, look at his history, and speak to anyone that know him, they know that the man was very rational. Very rational. And he was more concerned with living because he felt that we'd had too many martyrs. There'd been too many black martyrs already. And that he had an obligation, not even an obligation, a sacred duty to live, to disseminate information, and to raise the consciousness of the people. And you can't do that if you're dead.
So, based on that, I wouldn't even. I don't even consider the possibility that George had a gun. I believe that the story about the gun and the escape attempt and all of that stuff is just a concoction designed to justify a murder, a brutal, cold-blooded, premeditated murder that went down, that was instigated by the prison officials, and that went down. And I believe that incidents in the past where guards have killed prisoners out of spite and malice, and where the guards have gone unpunished and really uninvestigated, supported the administration in their belief that they could do something like this and get away with it simply by coming up with some jive story.
What about the other inmates, the ones who were unlocked? Rochelle McGee was one of them, right?
According to the report, Rochelle McGee was one of them. According to the report, a report that we see at the same time we received this one.
Yeah.
Rochelle McGee is paralyzed and he may be dead. Yeah. This report we received from a reliable source, and it was received by a woman in San Francisco who talked with this eyewitness. And this is, according to the eyewitness, this is what happened. George Jackson was forced out into the adjustment center yard by tear gas, shot in the ankle, then while in a face-down position, shot in the brain. The source of information revealed also that 4 other brothers, John Cruchette, Frida Drumcrow, Rochelle McGee, have been brutalized and continue to be severely brutalized at present. At present, Johnny Spain is in critical condition or dead. According to this eyewitness, this is what happened. Well, and it would seem to me that in all likelihood, from my experience in San Quentin, from all likelihood, if they got George out on the yard, they would have to use something like that to get him out there.
The fact that this statement says that he was forced out by tear gas would lend some credence to, that perhaps in sacrificing his life, that he was forced out by tear gas. I remember, this pistol only had 8 bullets. And
what pistol?
The pistol that they said, was found that he used to kill the guards with. If that is the case, what I'm saying that had the pistol been used, 8 bullets. How many times can you shoot with 8 bullets? Even once you're forced out into the yard. Now, if he was forced out in the yard by tear gas, naturally he's going to try to defend his life and take as many people with him as possible. Now, once the guard was empty, then anyone could have come up on him. Like you said, states by the report that he was shot in the ankle. At this time, anyone could have come up on him and issued, the coup d'etat.
What about the two other convicts who were on good behavior and therefore had a semi-guard status?
Oh, you mean the tier
How
attendants?
does that work? Yeah.
Well, quite often these cats that that the news media has seen fit not to investigate. Matter of fact, the news media has did a very piss poor job of investigating the entire incident. That is their purpose, is to search out the truth. But they've did very little. All they have did is publish reports from Parks, who is a stone racist, Associate Parks. Parks is a racist, and all they've been doing is giving out his news releases. They haven't sent in one reporter that has given out a report saying that I went in and investigated this. I talked to the convicts. I saw this. They won't even let in legislators. So I question that. When is it that you have so much to hide? That you won't let in state legislators.
Where do you take it from there?
We're circulating a petition in the black community demanding that the penal system, the prisons, the physical part of the California penal system be partitioned, and that an area be set aside where black convicts can be housed and where they can come under the protection of the black community. The prisons, they're almost unlivable if you're black. They're almost unlivable, period. But if you're black, you not only suffer from the everyday agony of being in prison and being under the thumb of somebody else, but you suffer a plus by the fact that most of the guards are white, most of them are overtly racist, and you're black, and you pay for that. Yeah. Pay for it in immense psychological damage is done to most brothers who go through those institutions. So we're circulating this petition demanding that the area be made available to the black community, whereby the black community can house and protect our own, and that this area and these black convicts be under the administrative guide of people from the black community, that the programs that they participate in while they're in prison be formulated by the black community. All of that, the parole board be that reviews their case and determines when they return to freedom be black. And the petition is going to really go into circulation this Sunday when we have a rally at Will Rogers Park. The rally starts at 1, and we're going to try to collect as many signatures as we can on the petition then. The petition is going up, will be in San Francisco Saturday, and we hope to get signatures there, and we hope to interest other parties in pushing the petition throughout the black community.
If people can't come to the rally on Saturday, how can they get in touch with you?
They can call the Harriet Tubman Foundation, 758-6701.
Right.
Right. Okay, that's anyone interested in working on prison problems through the Harriet Tubman Foundation, or specifically in this petition.
Right. We would like to have, any concerned legislators, both black and white, that are really concerned about bringing about some change and exposing the truth, go into those damn prisons, especially San Quentin, and investigate it from top to bottom. Don't allow themselves to be whitewashed or to be shown, only certain procedures, but to fully investigate it and report it to the people so that the people do become aware, and that they punish those people that are responsible for this brutal murder. Also, we feel that the press has totally abdicated, their duty to the people, that they have not fully investigated this matter as they should have, as they are obligated to. This is their purpose. Either they will serve this purpose, or they will be just what Agnew says they are. That they're allowing themselves to be used. And if they're afraid, then just want to make people aware of the fact that they are afraid that these interests are too powerful, and they can't deal with them, or that they're unwilling to deal with them. Because I question it, the fact that they haven't dealt with it.
What about a very immediate problem aside from the petition, and that is people like Fleta Drumgo and John Clouchet? Obviously, these people are targets for the same kind of thing, if in fact it was a setup. What can be done to protect their lives in the interim?
One of the things that I feel really can be done, like we said, for the black legislators to go in there, and they can make some immediate changes, like they can see to it that these people have access to their lawyers whenever they desire. Because it is right now, you only have access to your attorney when they decide to let you. Like as of right now, these men can't see their attorney. They were only let in the other day because they had to go to court. We want people from the black community to have access to these men. Because if they have, see, one thing the prison officials really hate and fear is exposure. And when outside interested concerned parties come in, they make certain changes because they don't want this brutality, this inhumanism to be exposed to the public. So we want, the public to have more free access to these men. We want them to have free access to their attorneys. We feel that their mail, although it may be censored, should be given priority because these people, they have life and death problems that they're dealing with, and we feel that their living conditions have to be radically reformed, and that the attitudes of these guards has to be dealt with. In other words, we feel.
Can you really deal with the attitudes of guards
Yeah.
who have been there for years and years?
Then remove. That's what I'm talking about. Remove those pigs. See, what's happening is that you're getting pigs there that are now being trained. I mean, you have cats that come in out of college that are really, concerned, and they're fed. When they're indoctrinated with this idea that all the convicts are out to get you, they hate you, and they're gonna play on you. And if they get an opportunity, they're gonna kill you. So automatically, whenever you approach a guard that's really concerned, he feels, well, I gotta watch this guy because he gonna try something slick, And over a period of years, all they talk about is security, how they gonna kill you. And pretty soon this cat becomes so hard and embittered with these racist attitudes that he's been indoctrinated with as a part of the security procedure that he in turn himself becomes a racist. So what you have to do, you have to get rid of the training officers. You have to find some procedure of testing cats and then get rid of these old training officers that are perpetuating this old racist attitude.
You think that if they did come in with different attitudes that prisoners would be different?
Right.
There are a lot of guards, I'm sure, who have gotten burned.
But there are a lot of guards that have a beautiful rapport to prisoners too because they treat them like people. They don't treat them like numbers. They don't treat them like statistics. If you have a problem, they listen. You can discuss it with them. They don't. If you disagree with them, that's one thing. You can disagree with people, but you don't. You don't disagree with. Well, you disagree with people, but you don't disagree with pigs. He's a guard. Whatever he say is right, and whatever you say has no validity and is wrong. You don't question. Do as I say. Don't do as I say, not as I do.
Right, but you would have to have some safeguard on that. A change in the attitude of the guards wouldn't actually bring about that drastic a change in the prison, because ultimately the guard still has arbitrary power over the prisoner, and what that means is that if you do something, and if you is in the right when you do it, if it's legal according to the rules of the institution for you to do it, and a guard doesn't like you doing it at the time, and he tells you, I'm going to give you a beef, which is going to go into your jacket, which is going to be placed before the adult authority when you go up for your parole hearing. If you do that, that means that you have to stop doing it. And if you don't stop doing it, you're punished like that. And it all boils down to the fact that no matter what, they have this catch-all, which is called disrespecting a direct order. Right. And that's anything. If a guard tells you to kiss his behind and you don't kiss his behind, you disrespected a direct order. You'd be punished for that. So then what would have to come down is that a judicial system would have to be set up within the institution to arbitrate these kind of disputes and to judge fairly and impartially.
So you're saying that whenever you have absolute power in the hands of one side, there's going to be misuse.
Every
and there has
time.
to be a way to balance that out.
Right. But I think, the only thing I disagree with him on that is that it can't be connected with the judicial system at all. It has to be a body that is composed of community people that have the power to make certain changes. Not only recommendations, because recommendations can be, they can be ignored, but an impartial body that can go in, that have complete investigatory power to go in, talk to the convicts, have access to the records, investigate any part of the facility, and then make a binding decision
so
that
it's
it would
really,
be fair to all.
You're calling for civilian control of the
Civilian control,
penitentiaries,
right.
Away from the professionals.
Right. From the appointments, the power of the governor to appoint the people that he wants in these positions, that has to go.
Because it's like an esprit de corps thing, you know. Like a guard kills a convict, and automatically 10 guards they line up like soldiers alive for him. You know, after all, he's a guard. Today he killed a man. Tomorrow I might have to kill somebody who's gonna lie for me if I don't lie for him today. See, we have to get away from that.
Yeah.
So that goes from the very minor official, like the petty pig and the PM, all with the Reagan. They back each other up hand in glove, because what happens at the local level, Reagan is responsible for.
In a real
You know, so he's going to justify it. You know,
that's what this petition is all about: taking that power out of the hands of those political appointees and returning it to its appropriate repositories.
What effect will this killing have on the prison population, as well as the population outside the prisons? If it was engineered, it was engineered to get rid of a problem. Is it getting rid of a problem?
It's going to be used. No, to answer your question directly, no, it's not going to get rid of a problem, and it's not going to accomplish that which the prison officials are going to try to accomplish with it. What they're going to do is try to take this, and they're going to absolve the
system itself of any guilt.
And this is supposed to bring home to the convicts that we got you under our power, and that either you stay in line, or the same thing would happen to you. They're going to try to use it as a lever to intimidate convicts. I don't think that some convicts will be intimidated, but there are a large body of them who won't be intimidated, because there are a large body of them who act from the premise that what they do, their every act has to be geared towards elevating the consciousness of people on the streets, has to be geared towards educating them to the kind of things that people go through while they're in prison. And that, you know, if what I do calls for me to make the ultimate sacrifice to do that, well, then that's just what I do. Or if it calls for me to do 15 years here, then I just do 15 years here. There are people in there like that. And certainly they won't be intimidated.
Are people expecting now for there to be much more stringent control over who can visit at the prisons, what kind of literature can go in, how many letters can pass, how they're censored, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's already been indicated, you know, that like the legislature is meeting right now to see about instituting some new policies whereby everything's going to be tightened up. They call it restricted, you know, I call it oppression. It's a matter of I don't think it's a matter of semantics, I think it's a matter of reality. Whenever you take away some more privileges from a man, you're oppressing that person. And that's what I think it's going to be. As James indicated, they're going to try to use this instead as a means of instilling fear. You know, we got one nigga today that was a bad nigga. All right, you'll be next. Just open your mouth too loud and create too many problems, begin to influence too many people. And since you don't give a damn about going home, well, we'll kill you. You know, or we will brutalize you like we're now brutalizing Fleet Drum Go, sticking with cigarette butts, breaking their arms and things, you know, beating them up physically. And if this thing continues, so what you're going to have, although they think it will be a means of controlling what's going to happen, it's going to backfire on them. They haven't learned that yet. That there are men that are so dedicated to bringing about change that they have made a commitment at 19, 20, 21 years old, that if it requires it, they'll give up their lives to bring about an immediate change. And they're not going to be intimidated. They're not going to be intimidated by Reagan, you know, by Parks, who is a racist, by Ward Nelson, who is a liberal racist. And you just can't deal with these people like that. The only way you can try to deal with these people is to deal with them on a level where they're human beings, and you want to see them to get some justice. That means reform. And the prison system is not even about reform.
No, it's not about the reform itself.
No.
Parks has already stated that the, quote, revolutionaries are going to be separated from the rest of the mainline body, and that they're going to be put under more stringent restrictions, but that the everyday average mainline convict, that his condition is not going to change.
There again, that's that arbitrary thing coming in.
Right.
Who's going to ascertain, or who's going to determine who's revolutionary?
What,
you know?
what does a revolutionary stand for? Because you tell the guard you're not going to shine his shoes.
Right on. If you stand up today and say you're going to be a man, So, and you tell him, well, look here, I believe in black power getting themselves together, black people getting themselves together. I believe in educating myself to improve the condition of this racist system and acknowledge the racist system that supports racist policies not only within the United States but abroad. That I want to bring about those type of changes. I want to see a change to the welfare system. I want to change to this capitalistic system. I want to expose the system for what it is. I want to educate myself and my brothers and anyone else that will listen. Is this a revolutionary? And if this is the criteria for a revolutionary, then what was the cat's name that wrote the Declaration of Independence?
Jefferson.
Yeah, then he was a revolutionary.
You've been listening to Edward Dino McZeal of the Committee, a group seeking prison reform, and James Standifer of the Harriet Tubman Prison Movement, which supplies prisoners with reading matter they request. This is Mary Bess for KPFK.